Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my Star Atlas Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 136. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at intergalacticherald.com. Just look for weekly recap newsletter number 184. So just a quick summary of things that happened in Star Atlas this week. Basically, standard things from the community team. The Atlas Brew occurred. They talked about Holosim. There was a monthly Builders Hour where they talked about a few things. And that was it. The only other thing was AFIA puts out their weekly Star Atlas newsletter. So again, all those links can be found on my website. But before I get to talking about those things, just wanted to mention a few things that I am working on within the Star Atlas ecosystem. Again, first is my website, intergalacticherald.com. It's a great web resource, guides, directories of guilds, directories of other content creators, tools, and things like that within the Star Atlas metaverse. You can find some recaps. Again, this podcast you're listening to is there, my weekly newsletter recap, the AI summaries of the different other events that occurred within Star Atlas, and finally, I have my Discord newsfeed where you can sign up to get emailed announcements that are made in the Star Atlas Discord. So you can check all that out at intergalacticherald.com. Do have my Star Atlas merch store. Not a lot of selection yet, been on the back burner, but you can check that out at intergalacticgear.com. Also have a merch survey there. And then I do have a community I'm trying to get together with other Star Atlas gamers who are not interested in joining Star Atlas guilds, so you can check that out at intergalacticcoalition.com. As I mentioned, there was pretty much the standard weekly events from the Star Atlas community team, the Atlas Brew and the Builder Hour. Talk about the Atlas Brew first. This was pretty much, I think, almost exclusively about the Holosim, what's going on, talking a little more about what's the, next season or next chapter. I always forget which one's coming next. But anyways, so they did mention a few things about that, but they did start with their kind of noteworthy news. The first was mentioning that the Sage game has a patch. So if you go to Star Atlas Discord and in patch notes, you can read all about that there. I skimmed it, but nothing really, I'm not really playing most of the game loops that involved. One thing, though, that was interesting, and I guess it turned out I was correct, that the Mamba X, the ship you can redeem within Sage, did run out, and they now have brought that back, unfortunately with higher requirements. So I need to do some research on that, which I'll talk about later. But more specifically, when they moved on about Holosim, they did talk about they are putting together some infrastructure improvements. Don't remember all the details, but again, that's all you need to know is they're definitely responding. So I think, if I remember correctly, they were saying that they both over-anticipated or under-anticipated how many people, but once they fixed one thing, more people showed up, and so they had to fix something else. So they're definitely looking at working through all those before they release for the next one. And one thing I hadn't heard before, but I thought was interesting, they are going to have some, quote, written policy rules about how to play, and some of it seemed to relate around the concept of alt accounts. In fact, even something where you can designate alt accounts. So wasn't sure if they're banning them or just making it more if things were detrimental to the game, then those things could cause you to get banned. So again, they weren't announcing the rules, they were just saying that will be part of the next thing. So I think that's interesting too, and just shows the maturing of the product. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you want to listen to the whole audio video recording, you can check out the YouTube channel Star Atlas TV, or if you just want a little longer summary than what I just said, you can check out my website for my AI audio summaries. But again, if you're on this podcast feed, you already have received those. But you can sign up to get those if you go to my website at intergalacticherald.com. On Thursday, they had the Builder Hour, which was a community event for people who are building within the Star Atlas ecosystem, specifically using their IP. It was mentioned, it was a short event. They did mention that a new rental program will be coming, and the developer of that kind of mentioned some different things. And there was one of the other community builders mentioned that they have created a Discord knowledge bot for Star Atlas. So again, it was a very short one, so they didn't talk too much about things. But again, Star Atlas TV has the recording, and again, you can get my AI summary by signing up for this podcast, or you can read it. Yeah, you can read the summaries if you want to on my website. Just look for the new event recaps. And that, again, was pretty much it for there. Nothing came on the Foundation channel. There's stuff in the Foundation chat, but I can't talk about that. Yeah, so that was pretty much it this past week in Star Atlas. So just a couple thoughts, again, because there wasn't a lot. Like I was alluding to, the Sage patch. One, I think it's great that they are patching it, providing gameplay changes to address some of the economy issues. But yeah, they're just not game loops I've been involved with. I think there was some reduction in the crafting fees, but I haven't really done much crafting, been more doing mining and transport. And then as related to Holocim, definitely glad they're waiting to fix the infrastructure, add some policies, hopefully again, just continue maturing of that product, addressing what the last season did to bring the next season or chapter, however they're chunking it up, into just more fun and playable for everybody. So I think that's really good. And then wrapping up on my journey, I have kept my laptop off that was running the Sly Assistant. Again, as I alluded to, I had a feeling the Mamba X's had run out of stock with, if you've been following along, not really as enthused to play, especially with the whole zinc thing there. I need to calculate the Mamba X to see if its cost makes sense, but probably wouldn't matter what it costs, because I think I am going to just continue waiting to the zinc rollout, because again, all those transactions would be, again, I'm not sure how to say it, but to build up experience, hopefully that's the right term. I'm not sure for the zinc airdrop. So yeah, I think I'm just going to keep it off. On a personal note, I haven't really missed it, but again, like I mentioned in the last couple podcasts, it's been pretty boring, just mining, and again, I stopped moving things. Yeah, part of it was in the goal of why I'm doing it too. Yeah, I don't think that's a total knock on the entire Star Atlas ecosystem and the potential, but yeah, for smaller players. But I did actually do a quick calculation, which unfortunately confirmed something I had a feeling, but I wasn't sure. So since I was only mining with one ship, I realized I could actually look at the Solana fees, because before I was mining or moving or something. So and the ships were bigger and things, I guess bigger doesn't matter. But anyway, so I was just mining with my one Armstrong tip, the little one. So it was just one ship, and all it was doing is mining one resource at one star base. So there was hardly any fuel being used. Of course, no ammo gets used, and it was just food. Mine, stop mining, unload, refuel or restock with food, undock. So pretty repetitive transactions. And again, nothing else I was doing on that. On my little manual piece of paper where I was tracking different things, I figured out that on average, and again, this wasn't like precision, at least looked at 3 or 4 days, and it was, but I didn't do it always at the exact same time. So again, there was definitely not precision here. But again, it did look like per day, 0.002 Sol was consumed in fees just doing that mining loop. If that was translated at the time when I did this last week, the cost in USDC for that per day was 50 cents and 0.02, or 0.5702. So 57 cents and some small pennies. So times that by 30, and it turns out that was $17.11 a month, which, yeah, that's crazy. I'm sorry. I know I put out the video, hey, you could play Star Atlas for $20 a month. It's like you're paying a fee, but you get to do all these things. And that is true. But in reality, if that was two ships mining two different things, or I would assume the transport fleet, which again, I know these aren't exact because transporting is different than mining, that adds up pretty quickly. And I would definitely not imagine that in a month's time, the resources that I mined were equivalent of $17. So if I'm guessing, I could have taken that $17 and bought a whole bunch of resources that would have been equivalent to all the things that we're doing. So I am not against the idea of paying a monthly fee to play when you use time as your really in flexibility, as opposed to saying having a large fleet or something like that. But we've always been told that the size of the fleet doesn't matter, it's the transaction. So one small ship is equivalent on transactions as a big ship, but what that big ship can do is way different than the small ship. So again, this wasn't a planned test or calculation. This was just, oh, hey, I guess I can figure this out. And I've never done it to date. So yeah, that's pretty tough to swallow with $17 when I was just gaining some resources that I can't imagine were worth $17. So that, again, at least to me, finally proves that, yeah, small players just can't at all make any sense of this other than a fun factor. And I'm still okay with the idea of a fun factor. Fortunately, I didn't put $17 into my crypto wallet that had been there from years past, or yeah, I guess it has been years past. And Solana, I guess Solana's cost doesn't change, but the fee to play the game isn't changing, but the worth of the Solana is. Anyways, yeah, so again, makes even more ammunition to keep my laptop turned off and not do anything until there's some other thing. And again, I could easily justify the fun factor, definitely could justify the zinc harvesting, redeeming, whatever you want to call it. So that leads me to the last point. I was thinking again about the fleet rental. Should I look into that? Now that I know there might be a new system coming from the Builder Hour, that's great. Probably would make sense to figure it out because if I'm not mistaken, it's truly just gaining Atlas from rental. I'm sure there's, again, some fees that go to the DAO or whoever. There's some fees, but I don't mean that in Solana fees, but I assume there is still some Solana fees there. But I think this one comes more down to lack of time because, again, it would be learning something completely new that I've never done before. Definitely have to figure out some research on what to price it for because I priced it too low, leaving money on the table, and I guess I could always price it too high. Nobody wants it. But at the end of the day, renting my fleet out just has no fun. I wanted to play a game, not buy assets to rent out to other people. I want to do something with mine, even if it's not the most economical thing. But on the other hand, I realize economically it's probably the right call. If I'm not using them, I should definitely at least get something. I guess I could put them back into faction fleet. But now I'm feeling like knowing that the faction fleet rewards are definitely been reduced, that if I take those from my claim stakes, I guess I could just sell them, or in this case, stockpile them, because inevitably I'm going to need food and ammo. I have continued to sell toolkits on the market, and so I'm getting a little Atlas that way, and I have yet to find a need for toolkits, but again, all of that could change that's a good point, all of that could change with C4. But anyways, faction fleet would make sense, but I don't have time, or I don't want to make time to do it, and it is just simpler to keep things turned off and just monitor what's going on and go from there. So that's where I'm at right now. And we'll see if anything changes by next week. But anyways, that's kind of my thoughts on Star Atlas for this past week. Again, totally open if anybody wants to be a guest on the podcast. You can reach my website, intergalacticherald.com. Just look for the contact page. While you're there, you can check out my beginner's guide, directories for content creators, tools, and other things related to Star Atlas. Do have my multiple recaps, both the weekly email of other content that was created, any AI summaries, audio summaries of the community events, and then, of course, if you'd want to sign up to get announcements from the Star Atlas Discord sent directly to your email, you can do that there. So please do check out intergalacticherald.com. Featuring some very limited selection Star Atlas merch, i.e. mugs, please check out intergalacticgear.com. And again, if you're a gamer looking to hang out with other Star Atlas gamers, not interested in joining a guild, please check out intergalacticcoalition.com. And that was the week in review of Star Atlas. Thanks for listening. This is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Have a great week ahead.